All right, so let's continue on now, and let's look at, finding the overall impedance with the value we found for x sub c in my other video I did. You may or may not have watched that one, but once we calculate x sub c, obviously we're normally given a value for r or z and asked to find, the other parts of the triangle. So, I found x sub c, and I'm telling you that R is 13 kilo ohms, and we want to find Z and theta. Okay. I generally like to use Pythagorean theorem when I'm finding Z or any side in the right triangle, just because I think it's a little easier, but you may not believe that. But that's what I do. So keep in mind, your triangle here, where this is Z, this is theta, blah, and this x sub c, and this is R. Now, one thing in an RC circuit, even though we found x sub c to be 15.9 kilo ohms, we make it negative because of where it's located. Okay, it's down in the fourth quadrant. So therefore, this is a negative measurement. R is positive. Z is also positive, but whenever we get our answer for theta, it's negative. So you just have to remember that when you put your answers, in your homework. Okay, make sure you identify the positive and negatives, or they'll count it wrong. So if I want to find Z, I use the Pythagorean theorem, and since Z is the hypotenuse, I'll take R squared plus x sub c squared. Even though x sub c is negative, for ease of calculations, because when we square it, everything becomes positive, so I just enter it in as positive, And then I take 13 squared plus 15.9 squared and I get 252.81. So then I take the square root of that, and that's unbelievable. Let me try that again. Yeah, I think I made a minor error here because that's not right. See, with these calculators, you've got to press equal. So actually, that's going to be the square root of 590.81, and then the square root of that. With these calculators, you got to press equals all the time. So I forgot to press equals, so it actually didn't add. But anyway, now I do the square root as 24.3. That's a little bit better. All right, and since we used these two calculations, both were already kilo ohms, our answer is going to be in kilo ohms. Okay, so you don't need to worry about the prefixes, in this process here. Just know that your answer, when you're done, is in the same prefix you're using up here. Okay, so that's Z. So that's 24.3 K ohms. And then I want to find theta. So, hopefully with the trigonometry, you're getting more comfortable. But when you're finding theta, and if I know all three sides, I can choose any combination of two sides I want to. So I am going to do cosine. Why not? And that means adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of theta is R over Z. So that's 13. And again, I don't need to worry about the K prefix because both of them are already in K prefixes. So I take 13 divided by 24.3. and I get 0.53497. So I like to keep my trig ratios rounded to 4 decimal places, but in this case, if I round to the 9, that actually makes it 0, so I'm going to go to 0.535. So cosine of theta is 0.535, so theta is cosine inverse 0.535, which is roughly 57.657. So I'll say 57. And then here's, maybe I should show you how I'm rounding, since some of y'all are, kind of get a little struggle with rounding. If I'm rounding to the tens place, that's 5, so I add 1 here. If it was less than 5, I would leave it alone. Okay? So I'm going to say theta is 57.7 degrees. And since it's here, it's got to be negative since we're in an RC circuit. Okay, so hopefully that helps. We found X sub C earlier, so I went over that in my other video where it says finding X sub C, and I just continued on with that into your homework example.